Hey everyone, it's Febe,
It's Tiryn.
I'm Murke.
and slightly belated video, but we're here to talk about the Pacifier demo weekend 2, which was the Elite specs. And hey, it's the Mirage. That's how I spent most of my time as a Mirage. Or as anything.
Dead?
Was dead, yes.
That's unfortunate.
It is
It's very
unfortunate.
unfortunate.
It is unfortunate. So, I mean, Mirage is the one that I played the most. I love the Mirage. I love everything about the Mirage. It's what I'm excited about for Mirage, first of all, is that my original build was very condition and invisibility based. When Chronomancer came out, that sort of like killed that. But now with this axe and the extra condies with that and all the avoidance that it has, I feel like it's gonna like make that build viable again, which is amazing because that was my favorite way to play it. The only thing that I think is gonna be an issue is that you're gonna have to like really be aware of what you're doing, like your positioning, where your mirrors are. You can't just spam buttons like I'm trying to do now. The heal skill I'm not a fan of because you have to be in the tiny little circle for it to heal you. I'm not entirely sure if you avoid everything while that's there because I died if I stayed in one spot too long. Every single person playing on this demo was just throwing out condies like they were Halloween candy or something.
Yeah, I feel like the expansion this time, a lot of the classes are Condi based.
Yeah.
Like if you look at all the skills, a lot of them have like Condi.
I felt like I used this comparison with someone else, and it just felt like it was just a competition of my Condi dick is bigger than your Condi dick, and whoever could stack the most Condis the fastest is the one that...
For the Mirage, what does the Mirage actually do?
So the Mirage mirror, when you touch it, it shatters. It weakens the people around it, but also gives you Mirage Cloak, which is where you evade attacks. So it's like almost like a blur. And if you have a bunch of them up, it's almost like having extra F4 shatters, which is really cool. One thing I did notice was that I shouldn't have had a dodge, but there were a couple times where I dodged to basically give myself a cloak, but I actually dodged.
Is the dodge thing a trait, perhaps?
When you equip Mirage, it removes your dodges. Like, when you go to dodge, you just give yourself a cloak.
Okay.
So I think that was just a little bit of a bug.
I thought it didn't give you a cloak, it made you evade where you stood.
Like a distortion, yeah.
Yeah. Because if a cloak is just the stealth essentially, that would be terrible. I'm pretty sure that it is in fact you evade while standing in one spot.
I still should not have dodge rolled though.
Yeah, she shouldn't have dodge roll, but I saw her dodge roll like a couple of times. I'm not sure if it's a glitch or
It probably
if there's something else tied to it.
I mean, either way it worked because I got away from the guy trying to kill me. So, I mean, it was just, I saw it happen. I was just like, oh, okay.
Which is odd.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
But that's what these demo weekends are for. I'm looking forward to the Mirage. The only thing I can see is that it's going to take a lot of practice. Like I said, you need to know where your mirrors are, and you need to shatter them in order to utilize them. Otherwise, they're kind of wasted. You need to know what you're doing, and that's going to take time and practice. But I think it's going to be really fun and totally worth it in the end. The next elite spec is the Thief with the Deadeye, and I feel like everyone had a love-hate relationship with this spec. Everyone loved to play it, hated the bastards when they shot you. Did either of you play it?
Yeah, I did. I loved the Deadeye.
I didn't actually enjoy playing them that much. They felt boring to me to play. But I also don't in general like the Thief, so I'm biased. Horribly biased.
Oh no.
Definitely trying to chase around the Deadeye was less than fun.
I just really enjoyed it. I did not like the melee because I feel like with a Deadeye, you should not be up in someone's face. So having the melee, what they gave you by default was, I believe, sword pistol. I did not enjoy that, so I swapped to pistol and just wrecked faces. The only bad thing I noticed is that if someone catches you and gets up in your face, that's it. You're dead. There's no way. Unless you can, I believe it's rifle 4 jumps you back, or rifle 3, you're a goner. I absolutely was surprised and loved when, what was it? The malice that hits, like, as that increases, your one shot, I believe that one's the rifle 4, does a ton of damage, like upwards of 12 to I think 16k was the highest I got with it.
Yeah, Deadeye crits are insane. It's just insane. So like, you combine that with like either a dagger or pistol, it's really crazy because dagger has a lot of stealth, so Deadeye is a lot about stealth. Whereas, like you said, sword pistol, it's more of a power in your face kind of thing that it complements Daredevil. It complements Daredevil, but not Deadeye.
Yeah.
So if you want to play a Deadeye, you need to go for like really, really stealthy builds.
And that heal skill is absolutely wonderful. If you can manage to wait until your malice is maxed at, 7 stacks, that heal skill will take you from almost dead to up to full. I found it a lot of fun though.
Yeah, it's a lot like a FPS game. Like you have to move around and find proper position, take them by surprise, and things like that.
Yeah, it was difficult for me to find a good sniping spot. Just personally, because I haven't been a sniper in a game since Glass Cannon Vanilla Ranger was a thing.
I think that's part of what I didn't like it was I don't usually enjoy playing snipers in games, and for the Deadeye to really shine, you want to find a nice sniper's nest, and then you sort of stealth between the two and just pick people off as they're running.
And a lot of people were better at that than I was, because I know multiple times I would be walking up to a point and just die right before I got there. The next specialization I wanted to talk about was the Ranger, the Soulbeast. I actually main a Ranger, and I was skeptical for Soulbeast just because I just didn't know what to expect. I have to say that the first match I played, it was horrible, and I hated Soulbeast. And then I looked at my traits. I was like, let me try and work out this build. And I was given a trait line that is it makes you, when you have a sword equipped, you excel. It's for melee combat, but specifically swords. Specifically the trait where sword skills are on recharge for less time. But I wasn't given a sword. I didn't have a sword equipped in my build, so I don't know why they gave me that trait. And I just shook my head, and I was just like, Ain't, please.
The sword is what they would normally use. It's odd that they would have it for this one, though.
Yeah, so I took that as Ain't didn't know what the hell they were doing for Ranger, and I completely redid my build. And after I did that, I enjoyed it a lot more. But there is a lot going on. Each of the stances does something completely different. It gives you a different boon. The heal skill I really like because it eats your conditions, which is amazing because I always need more con declare, especially with these freaking specs. Although, with all those fucking engineers, it doesn't do any fucking good. I'm sorry, I may still be salty.
We can tell.
But yeah, I always need more con declare, so I was really happy with that heal skill. Yeah, like I said, there's a lot going on. You've got all your stances that do something different. You've got all the new pets that are pretty awesome. You've got your F5 now that basically 3 new abilities depending on your pet. Every class of pet that you could have, it's something different. So you really need to know what all of your pets do in order to utilize that to the max. There's also your dagger skills, which I am not really a fan of melee combat on a ranger, but I mean the daggers weren't too bad. I used dagger because I've just been excited to have dagger ranger forever.
So if, let's say, someone asked you for opinions, what kind of build should you put with the Soulbeast to best complement it, what would you advise?
I think it's pretty versatile. You could make it easily. You could make a Condi build because the dagger does some good Condi damage. It stacks, I believe, bleeds, and I can't remember what the other condition was. But it's supposed to be, I believe, Condi based. I don't believe it's supposed to be power. I think that when they originally gave me my build, I believe they gave me just straight up dagger and a short bow. And short bow is also Condi. I don't personally like short bows because I feel like the attacks are too slow for my liking. But so I paired it with my longbow. I gave myself marksmanship. I gave myself, I believe, skirmishing. And then I made sure I had that extra Condi clear, like the signet. The only other thing I might say is maybe get yourself Signet of Stone, because that's a really nice oh shit button. Although that's not going to help you with Condis. But you do have, between the heal skill and the, I believe, Signet of Renewal, you have 2 Condi clears, so that might help. Hopefully someone else on your team or an ally is also helping you cleanse conditions. Know the stances that you're running, because like I said, each one does something different, and to be able to utilize those, you need to know when you're going to use them. And for the stances, I feel like it's definitely going to come down to like a rotation based thing, which I usually don't do, to be honest. Next up is the engineers with the Holosmith, and I have a love-hate relationship with this freaking class.
I just love it. It's mine. It's my baby.
It's really fun because this one, you don't have to know what you're doing. You can spam your skills and effectively kill everybody around you and make everyone scream at their monitors like I did for over 6 hours. Thank you.
You have a lot of access to a lot of skills, and they all are amazing.
It's bullshit. but it's wonderful bullshit. There is also still on with it. I feel like it's similar to Scrapper in that plays Scrapper thinks that it's just super fun to play because you can effectively spam.
Yeah, you can kill people without knowing what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. That's how I got so good at Scrapper.
Same.
But the same thing with this. The only thing I feel like would take skill is to be able to actually pull it off without going down like I do all the time with this, is your Photon Forge. A lot of your skills will do damage or healing or whatever they do based on the amount of heat that you have built up. And so you want to be in your Photon Forge as much as possible so that you can work up that heat and that way you can get the most out of your skills. If you don't have any heat built up, they're just going to do what's minimal, and that's not as impressive. When fighting Svanir here, did not really remember that. So that's why I'm not
showing off the cool.
Yeah. But I mean, you saw the cool when they murdered me all day.
I mean, it wasn't just you. I saw how like those lasers murdered like 3 people in the team at once.
Yeah, that it did. That it did. I believe that it'll be really fun, and I think that if you just want to play something and get used to it, or you've never played maybe an engineer before, I think Holosmith will be a good place to start.
It really would. The problems with engineer, at least sort of the core class, was it didn't feel like you could super swap up between all the range and melee as only having one weapon. So you really had to rely on the kits.
Mm-hmm.
As Holosmith, that completely gets rid of the problem entirely. You have so many options as a Holosmith, it range or melee.
The next one is the Weaver for the Elementalist, and this one, in my notes, I just have in all caps, bold-faced and underlined, there's way too much going on.
they put in a lot of effort with the Weaver. Every single weapon gets affected by the dual element, so there's really a lot going on, and you really need to know your attunements. I would not recommend using the sword with this elite spec. I realized that this Weaver elite spec runs better with, you know, your other skills like the dagger. Or, let's not say dagger warhorn because there's no warhorn anymore. You know, unless they do something with the sword's auto attack, I would not recommend using the sword.
I actually, when I ran mine, I started with staff because someone said that they enjoyed staff the most.
Yes,
but
Staff Weaver is awesome.
I personally didn't like it just because for PvP, I should say, because things are going on way too fast for me personally to use a staff because the attacks are a bit slow for me. But I did enjoy, after I tried that and failed, I really enjoyed Scepter Focus.
Right, yep.
And so that's what I ended up using.
Yeah, because the Weaver really complements, you know, condition damage, like a lot of the elite specs are doing this expansion. Scepter, you know, you can stack a lot of burning, you can stack a lot of bleed. It complements the Scepter a lot as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I recommended staff because the problem with staff is you don't have a lot of you know, maneuver abilities with the staff. So with the Weaver, you can mix up your attunements, you can give yourself a speed boost, you can use your fire for to get away really quickly and have and just mix it up with your other elements to get back into the fight. It's really great for staff.
One thing I really hated about this class, though, was that heal skill.
Yes, the heal skill is odd and they need to do something about it. Well, I mean, it sort of makes up for it because you can heal the allies around you. It's sort of a pulse, but the problem with that skill is the pulse is delayed. So, you know, when your attack lands, it's not an immediate heal. Which, you know, in cases of PvP, it's not gonna work.
And that was something else that I disliked. Like, I feel like this would be good, really good. It could be really good in, like, fractals and raids even. Because, especially Veil Guardian, where everyone's stacked up on the boss and no one moves. Like, that would be great for that heal skill. And staff DPS is also a raid build, so you could also utilize the staff there. And probably be great.
I tried the Weaver out in War vs. War, and it wasn't as bad as I thought. You know, it's just that in PvP, it's not a versatile build. But in War vs. War, you can make it work.
But
like, especially in the Zerg and things like that. You know, that heal on a staff, you can stay out of danger and still heal the commander, whatever.
Mm-hmm. The things I did like about Weaver was that it is so versatile, and I actually found out by looking at the wiki that Mesmer and even a couple other elite specs do something similar as the Weaver, but to a lesser degree, whereas it's not just the elite spec weapon that's affected. For example, Mesmer's, when you are under the effects of a Mirage cloak, all of your weapons get a special attack for that brief period of time. Your greatsword gets a different attack that's only unique to Mirage rather than just core Mesmer, as does your scepter, your sword, like anything else you have equipped. You get a special Mirage ability while you're under the effect of a Mirage cloak. But that is usually such a brief period of time that I didn't actually see it. Safe to say I also wasn't in Mirage Cloak very long just because I wasn't utilizing my mirrors. So that's another thing. You need to know what's going on in your classes. You need to know what's going on with all of your abilities in order to maximize everything with these Path of Fire elite specs. And especially so with the Weaver, because there is so much going on. And like you said, you need to be mindful of your attunements because it's going to change. If you from fire, water into like fire, air, it's going to be completely different no matter which direction you're going.
I did realize that, you know, the whole description of the Weaver is very misleading because it got so confusing because people kept trying to mix up all 4 attunements together, and I realized you're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to stick to like 2 attunements that complement each other, and you always switch when you really need to switch, or when you do the perfect weave. Other than that, you need to pick like a build that complements 2 different attunements. Stick to that no matter what. Don't try to weave all 4 unless you have to, because that will screw up your damage and that will screw up your build.
Yeah, I didn't figure that out until my last few matches, where I mostly hovered just between... I played it basically the way that I play Tempest, where I hover between fire and air for my DPS, and then switch to earth when I need that earth 5 on focus, where it blocks my damage and is my oh shit button. Otherwise, I hovered in fire and air, and I seem to do better that way.
Yeah, fresh air works amazing with Weaver, just amazing.
Next is the Necromancer and the Scourge.
I know a lot of people didn't really like it in the demo weekend, but I think a lot of it was simply the type of play that we were allowed to use this in. Scourge really isn't meant for PvP. It is a support class, and if you want to use it in PvP, I don't know what you're doing. It's not a good support class for PvP. However, for fractals, for dungeons, for raids, for anything else in the world, it would be fine.
I think that if you're gonna use it for PvP, you need to be running with people who know that you're on it, who have traded and brought classes that would benefit from it and would benefit you.
I feel like simply because of the sandshades, that in the highly mobile area of PvP, that's simply not really gonna work well unless you're camping a spot, like trying to take a place. Otherwise, you're going to be running too much, because the sandshades are really the focal point of the build.
And if you don't have access to those, though, because you don't have life force, because you keep dying, then you're kind of screwed, because everything relies on your life force, and I found it really difficult to get any of it.
That's why I don't even want to talk about it in PvP, to be honest. It's because you start out without any life force in PvP, you have to then build up. So you're starting from a weakened position. That's never a good thing.
Yeah.
However, out in PvE, you can just go, kill some white creatures if absolutely nothing else. Work that up.
I think it might have been a bug, because I had it traded, when I was playing these, after I found that error with Ranger, I took the time to rework every single build on every single class that I played. And I traded myself on this Necro to have my marks generate life force. My marks did not generate life force at all. I remember there was a time where I was standing there with my marks on my staff and spamming them. They were constantly being set off or whatever it is. My life force did not change by a single numeric value.
And that is definitely a bug. I think some of that is just going to be aimed at figuring out between an actual life force bar, where we could then use it, and then what we have now, which is also technically life force bar, but we don't use it by going into Shroud or anything. We just use it for our sandshades, essentially, to use their skills. And I guess the one teeny sand shroud that you get for 7 seconds, 5. It's tiny.
But I feel also that this, like all the other ones, is going to take practice. And I don't think, at least I haven't been able. Well, I didn't get to actually spend much time alive as a Scourge, so I don't really know how stacking condies works, because I just didn't have the time to try it.
So originally I thought that the sandshades, if you had 3 out, would do 3 times whatever, if you used Nefarious Favor, that it would convert conditions on yourself and allies into boons, and it can, I think it's 2 or 3, it's a very small number, and so I thought that if you had 3 out and it was, 2, then you would remove 6. It turns out I don't think that is actually the case, which would be, considering the low cooldown, would be a little bit much. However, what that means is if you actually spread out your sandshades instead of grouping them all up in a tight group, you can affect more people that way, which that in a way is kind of nice, especially for things like raids and fractals.
I also didn't like I don't think, well, also I didn't get to look at the skills because I spent most of my time dead. I didn't see where there was any Condi clear.
That's Nefarious Favor. Of course, there's always in traits. There isn't a skill for it in the Scourge, other than Nefarious Favor, I believe. However, Necros have so much more. All you have to do is change out a skill or two. Like, no one's gonna run every single skill of a class for anything, Scourge or otherwise. Unless you're Holosmith, because Holosmith is okay. But here, one would assume you would trade the portal out for...
Which wasn't even working this weekend, so I don't even know how that works at all, but...
It works beautifully. I got to try it and it was amazing. And if you didn't get to try it, I am sad for you, because it was the best thing ever. Essentially, it works like a sort of shortened Mesmer portal. It doesn't go quite as far, but a bunch of people can go through it just like a Mesmer portal. I think it had 10 charges, and every time someone went through it, it gave them barrier, which is a big part of this class that I definitely want to talk about. The barrier is not a boon, it's not anything that can be taken away, it just slowly, well, not slowly, it actually very quickly degens. And as long as it's up, anyone that hits you will hit that barrier instead. They can, like, overwhelm the barrier if they do more damage than what barrier you have to take in a chunk of your health, but until that point, the barrier saves you, and that's because a lot of the new classes have so much boon strip, especially the Scourge, which is all about boon strip. The barrier is sort of a way to make up for those lost boons that I think Anet is kind of trying to pull back on.
Yeah. I don't know. I didn't get much practice with Necromancer, also because it was later in the night, and people were rage quitting and being mean.
Well, again, you were playing PvP, and yeah. Basically the reason someone's gonna want to run Scourge, as it is a support Necro, not only can it do a lot of conditions, but it does this barrier, and it's one of the few classes that gives barrier to other people, and that's why, say in raids, that might be important if there's something that's stripping your boons, but you need to essentially not take damage and block. Because it sort of is a little bit like Aegis, almost, because it takes that damage for you and sort of blocks it. And so that's where I feel like it's gonna have some good and interesting play, rather than PvP.
I also feel like if you're gonna do it in anything that's similar to PvP, you like everything like everything else, you need to know what you're doing. You cannot spam skills.
Just don't do it, guys. Don't listen to her.
Just don't play it in PvP.
Yeah, one of the things that I quite actually liked about this was the fact it also did a lot of torment. I've always felt like Necros should have gotten so much torment, and they didn't. So here you have torment and fire, which the Necros only got a little bit of fire. Now, with this build, we can get so much fire, we can get so much torment. Bleeds, of course. But it basically just adds 2 more condies to make us the best condomances ever.
Like Necro needed more condies.
Hey, Necros always need more condies. They need to be the Condi Master class, okay?
But yeah, so I don't have video or anything really to talk about for the heavy classes, Revenant, Guardian, and Warrior. Mostly because it got way too late in the night, and there were way too many hardcore PvPers on actual builds from, like, Heart of Thorns that were wrecking my face, and it made it impossible for me to actually do anything. So I didn't get to practice on those 3 classes basically at all, which is unfortunate. I can say that the effects, at least on the Revenant, are really pretty and impressive. Warrior is great. I just wish I could have played it more. From what I saw of other people playing it and heard, it was amazing.
It's funny because they're all they're almost like Guild Wars 1 Mesmers because they're a lot about skill denial and turning back damage on yourself.
Yeah, that's exactly what they do. That's exactly what they do.
They were made to wreck Elementalists, just saying.
They were meant to wreck everything, and they did wreck it. I don't think I killed a warrior at all the entire weekend. And I played nothing but this demo the entire weekend.
There's some footage that ended up getting destroyed that's really sad. That was me on a Spellbreaker going around, and I murdered, 2 Elementalists at once?
Yeah,
it was
and Tiryn.
2v1, and on Spellbreaker I just cut them down like they were butter. But that's not entirely true that they do wreck everyone. If you are a skillful player, I was playing against a Mirage who is way too good at what he does. It makes me mad. But he was wrecking us. Not that Spellbreaker is going to be the best against everyone, but it is definitely going to be great, mostly against sort of the caster classes especially, that need to spam their skills.
Which is why I'm saying, don't spam your skills, kids!
We'll cut you down.
Don't do it! And then Guardian, a Firebrand, has a lot I think even if more than, if not the same as, the quantity of things going on as the Elementalist. You have tomes. Each tome gives you a completely new set of skills. And there's one that's more offensive, there's one that's more defensive, there's one that's more healing, I think. And you need to know what each one does, and you can only use those skills 5 times. So each one of them once, or one of them 5 times, your pick, but once you've used 5 pages, that goes on recharge, and you have to know everything that's going on. It's for me, it's way too much. I don't even know Guardian that well to begin with, but I can see where those who play Guardian as a main would be really excited for it. Yeah,
that's
so
weird.
Mount Week, I guess it's going to be a full week, because it starts the 28th of August. So you've only got a few days to make your free-to-play account, so click on that link and do so right now. Don't even finish watching the video, just go do it.
Please.
Like, you run as fast as your little fingers can go. That wouldn't be running, but you know what I mean. Let your fingers do the walking. I like that. You didn't laugh.
Why would we?
But yeah, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!
Bye!
Bye!